Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, to the big mystery, to the unfolding, to what's true right now and then until something's more true, and to tapping into that greater knowing, that greater consciousness that surrounds us, infuses us, and to share our stories of connection with that around the campfire together. You know, because we all have a different experience, but it's all the same in some ways. And so we get to share that and we get to illuminate ourselves and each other. And this is really delightful. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love helping people take those first few steps or the longer steps or the next time around the spiral on that journey to discovery of who they are in truth and love and what they're really here to do, and to come into harmony with everything around them and their families and their spirits and their guides and their purpose and everything, and to have that beautiful mystical journey unfold. So I love that. If you're interested in that unfoldment, check out Butterfly Circle. And in the meantime, every week I get to interview incredible people on Soul Nectar Show who have really been doing the work and just do amazing things. And I get to bring it to you so you can be, amazed by it as well and illuminated and uplifted by it. And so today's guest is Selene Calloni Williams. Welcome, Selene.
Hi, Kathy. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Selene's coming to us from Switzerland, and she has a degree in psychology and a master's in screenwriting and has offered several books and documentaries on psychology, on deep ecology, shamanism, yoga, philosophy, and anthropology. She's a direct student of James Hillman. She studied and practiced Buddhist meditation in the hermitages of the forests of Sri Lanka and is an initiate of Shamanic Tantric Yoga. She's the founder and director of the Imaginal Academy Institute in Switzerland, where she hosts workshops in the Alps. And her book that she most recently has that's gotten a lot of input on is the Mother Mantra. So we're going to be talking about what is the Mother Mantra and what is shamanic yoga and how can it bring us in harmony with the earth and ourselves. And we're going to talk more about this non-duality state of consciousness and how to get there and why is it important. So this is going to be a great conversation. But before we get started, Selene, what I love to ask is I'd like to know more about, for our listeners, to tell us a little bit more about how you got into this kind of work. What was your awakening? You know, I know we have many, many awakenings to get into our path, like there's not just one, there's a bunch, but what are a couple of them that really are profound for you that you want to share with us today?
Oh, I was very young. I was 19 and I was desperate. And so I decided to leave Europe and I went to Sri Lanka. When I was there, I met a man named Michael Williams, who, despite his English name, he was far from being a British. He has been adopted by 3 different families when he was young, and he ran away from them all within few years. When I met him, he was with an eagle. And he was the man who introduced me to shamanic yoga path. And one day he brought me into the jungle, close to Abarana city, but in the middle of the jungle. And he said to me, Selene, you have to try to stay here alone and meditate on your breath until you perceive that your breath and the jungle breath are the same breath. I was really, really, really afraid to do that because I was afraid to stay alone in the middle of the jungle. I was so young, but I did it, and I entered my first samadhi. The word samadhi in Sanskrit means union with the all, with everything. It is a non-dual state of consciousness, but you can reach through meditation. And when I was there, I was so afraid, and I entered my fear. As my teacher said, you have to enter your fear to know it, to experience it. So I entered my fear, and when I entered my fear grew and grew and grew, and finally I couldn't say anymore what it was: fear, emotion, or just a vibration, because all my body was shaking. And so I said to myself, this is just energy. This is only energy. But this energy was so strong, but prevented me to think anymore. And so I realized that this fear could prevent me to think, could melt all my thoughts. And so I realized that fear is a means, is a tool to free ourselves from our mind, because our mind is a cage within we suffocate and suffer. I found my freedom from my mind through my fear, through my big intense emotion. And thanks to my fear, I melt the walls, the cage of the mind, and I felt to be one with the entire jungle. And it was so beautiful, because I heard monkeys on the trees upon my head, and I was there with the monkeys jumping on the tree and on the trees, and I felt far away some elephants, and I was immediately there with the elephants. I realized that without my mind, I can be everywhere, and I can be everyone. This is the samadhi, the union with the all, the union with everything. Is a great state of consciousness, is a non-dual state of consciousness that we can reach through meditation. And we just have to be available to experience our emotions and everything that is within us without judging it. And if we experience reality as it is in the present moment without judging, we can enter this state of non-duality.
That was a beautiful story. Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And as you were talking about fear, it's like I've also experienced where it's like fear is the gateway to more love. Like every time there's something that I would be afraid of, then if I faced it, as you said, and when you were describing it, I realized, yes, that's what I do. I go into the fear. I will go in almost into the fear and through the fear, And then at some point the fear dissolves. It's not real, it's not there anymore. It just combusts or dissolves, or just, it's like it's revealed to not be true. And then on the other side is this expansion and like this connection and this love and this like feeling in my body that just feels incredible, way beyond, you know, what I even imagined was possible, because that was like another barrier of fear that I had to get through in order to reach that next place of love. Does that make sense?
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. And the next step is to realize that fear, as all the emotions, are gods and goddesses, spirits. Emotions are spirits, gods and goddesses in a shamanic vision. They are aspect of the divine. And it is not true that there is an event and then we experience an emotion. It's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Is our need to encounter the divine in form of emotion that makes the event appearing, you see. So our mind is conditioned by the sense of time and space, by the law of cause and effect, but we have to think in a sacred way, you see, starting from the event, and think that first is the event and then the emotion, which is God, which is a God, a spirit, is a desacralized way of thinking. We have always to start from the emotion, from the God, from the spirit, because it's our need to experience the emotion, the God, the spirit, that makes the event to appear. You see, we have really to make an effort in order to regain the ability to think in a sacred way. And this is what can join us to nature, because we can't experience nature in reality through a desacralized thought. If we want to experience nature in reality, we have to change our thinking method, and we have to bring back the sense of sacredness within our thinking method. And the sense of sacredness, it is able to change our thinking method from the basis to lead us to a new vision, to a new perspective. And because the world is in the eyes of the beholder, if we change our perspective, we can change the world, and we can live in a more sacred, a more natural, a more beautiful world. Beauty is sacredness. And to experience beauty, we have absolutely to bring the sacredness back in our mind, in our lives.
I love that you just said beauty is sacredness. Oh my goodness, Selene. You know, years ago, before I realized any of this, because I was just living according to the matrix, you know, the collective thinking, but I always had a passion for beauty. So I was an artist. and I created artwork that was beautiful from my heart. I
Yes,
would go in nature and I would be inspired, and I would spend hours looking at flowers and the details and the colors, and then trying to recreate something beautiful from that. And then I would go and try to make a career of selling them. And at the end of that period, I decided I would champion artists, and I became the executive director of open studios in Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area. And boy, that was a frustrating experience, because there's a lot of people there at the time, and I can't really speak for it now, but at the time, who just couldn't understand beauty. They couldn't connect with it. It was like an unimaginable to me. And it seemed like the more money they had, the less they could connect with it.
yes,
The more stuff they had, the less they could connect with beauty.
yes, it's true. It
Yeah.
is. Yes. Do you know that Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world? Beauty will save the world. I really believe in that, because the beauty is the manifestation in this world of the ability of nature to give itself. Beauty is impermanence, is evanescence. If you think it's a flower is beautiful because it gives itself. It's impermanent. If you think it's a flower that ever lasts, never finish, is not beautiful anymore. It's a plastic flower, you see. So beauty is evanescence. Beauty is impermanence. Is the ability to give itself. It's love. It's sacredness. This is why beauty will save this world. But maybe for the world, it's too late.
Well, I don't agree. I know that the indigenous people say that we've had five extinctions of humanity so far, 5 attempts to try to bring humanity's consciousness to beauty, and this would be the 6th. And there's some of them who say, oh, this is it. I don't believe that. I believe that we're in the second wave, and I believe that we brought a lot of teachers to the planet from other places who know beauty, and could get into this interesting paradigm of amnesia and remember beauty in the middle of the amnesia. It's an extra challenge to do that, to come into this place that doesn't remember beauty, and forgot it was in the Garden of Eden. Well, it's surrounded by it, and then is focused on intangible things that don't matter, like money and technology and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's making this possible, so isn't that great? We can create beauty using it. So it's not that it's all bad, but everything is upside down. It's all upside down. It's like the focus is in the wrong place, as you were talking about. And then as we put the focus back on the sacredness, or like all of these things as technology and things as a vehicle for beauty, now the whole thing switches. It's in right relationship. We can still keep doing the same job or whatever, but it's a whole different thing. When you put the focus on the beauty instead of on the thing itself.
Yeah,
Now we have something.
yes, but I had not finished to say what I wanted to say.
Yes.
I wanted to say that beauty will save the world. For the world is too late, but for the world is always too late. But for the individual is always the right time, because freedom is freedom from something. And so to be free, you need a world which is not free. For the world is always too late, but everyone, each one of us can always be free, can always find beauty. somewhere.
Your cat.
And most of all, within itself. Yes, my cat is.
Good timing. So
Yes,
what I
he's.
think he's here to support you. So I think what you're saying is don't wait for the world to be ready. Like start
Yes.
and do your own inner process and become free yourself.
Yes, of course, of course, of course. I think I believe about that. Brodsky is a great Russian poet, and when he received the Nobel Prize, he did a speech, a very beautiful speech. He said, Dostoevsky said, "Beauty will save the world, but for the world is always late." But the individual, each one of us can always, always find the beauty and the sacredness within itself. So don't expect, don't wait for the world to be ready. Try to do something immediately. And try to find beauty in your life. You see, each one of us can find beauty in every single moment of life, because beauty is everywhere, is in our breath, is in the beat of our heart. And beauty is the reason why our art is beating, because beauty is love, is the ability to give ourselves to the unknown, to have faith. And so beauty is everywhere. We just have to see it. And I perfectly agree with you. To see beauty, to find beauty, we have to have a few stuff around us. If we have too much objects and stuff and money, and if we have too many things to do in our daytime, we can't meet beauty, because beauty is in the silence. Beauty is in the lack of something. When you perceive the lack of something, and when you are able to enter the sense of lackness, do you say lackness? The sensation of lack. When you go in the emptiness, when you go in the empty spaces of your life, then you can find beauty. But when you have many things to do, when you have a lot of things around you, a lot of stuff in your life, you can't meet beauty. Beauty is essentiality, and also is lack of something, is emptiness. When you go into a woods, you must be able to look at the emptiness, the empty space between the leaves of the tree, the empty space between the branches of the tree. Because do you know what give the shape to a leaf, for instance, is the void. Is the void which is around the leaf that gives to the leaf the shape. So in the void there is the power of beauty. So we have not to be afraid of the empty spaces, not to be afraid of what we experience as a lack of something. We have to enter this sensation, because deep down in the sensation of lack of something, we can find beauty and the real power, which is the power to create, to co-create reality within the godness, within the soul. You see?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. It was that emptiness, that unfulfillment that led me on my journey to get started, to find whatever it was that was more meaningful than my life filled up with stuff and events and busyness. And then that's when I first had my first shamanic healing, and I connected with this loving presence, hovered over me. I felt it come in, like I never felt that before. Loving presence hovering above me. Wow. And then this whole magical part of my life began in knowing of that aspect. And it just keeps deepening and deepening and deepening on the journey of co-creation of, well, okay, what are we creating it's in service to beauty, for all, and to share the light that I am, this being that I am. And along the journey of integration with this aspect of the divine, the soul, whatever word you want to use, there are questions that come up. Well, like one question is, well, what happens to me if I give myself fully? You know, and this is the personality. It says, well, what happens to me if I just give it all? Then do I exist or I die? Like,
You
what?
die, but this is the best thing you can do. Dying, vanish, disappearing. This is the most important and beautiful thing that a human being can do. Because after that, there is the rebirth. And the true life is the second life. The true mother is the second mother. And the true birth is the second birth. Dying and be born again. This is the secret, because until you don't know how to die and then be born again, you will remain an unhappy wanderer in a dark earth. But when you start to learn how to die and then be born again, you catch the secret of happiness and joy.
And the more, okay, so I love that you said this, because my favorite ally on this part of my life is the spirit of death.
Oh, great.
So I just keep bringing in spirit of death, or the West, you know, take your pick. And I say, hey, okay, I would really to release it all. I don't even know who I am. I let it go. Whatever I thought I was, I give it to you. I don't know who I am anymore. It's fine. You take it. And then on the other side, like something more true comes in, like something more real. I feel like it's a daily practice for me. I say, okay, take it all, take whatever I thought I was. And sometimes it gets cozy, right? Like I say to myself, oh, I talk to my guide now. Like I hear him all the time. He's kind of in me, like White Eagle is like in me. So I have conversations. There's a little, I wouldn't say I'm all the way through the process by any means, but the two of us talk. And I said, well, the other night I woke up in the middle of the night and he was saying to me, Carrie, I designed you for this project. We're going to be doing this the rest of your life. So relax. I'm not picking somebody else. I was like, oh, okay. You mean you're not going to find somebody better and like desert me and leave me like back to my old life, which was really not fulfilling, you know? It's like, no, let that go. Like, just let it go. It's not happening. That would be no, that's not going to happen. So I relaxed a little bit more, like, okay. So in other words, if I really want to experience more of the magic, I've even got to let go of my attachment to doing this work, like for example this, or to doing the books, or to having, you know, like all of it. Like I just let it all go every day, and I open to see what's next, like what's next for me to do, to experience, to feel, which is a little terrifying every single time, because you get more and more happy. I don't know, for me, I get more and more happy, I get more and more excited by the things that are happening, and I really enjoy it, and then I want more of it. I want more. So then I get nervous, like if I let it all go, now what's going to happen? Will more cool stuff, so I say that or something even better. That's how I coach myself through that process. That or something even better. I love this, and I'll let it all go. That or something even better. Just keep showing me what's new. Show me what's possible.
Beautiful.
Yeah?
Yes. But at the end, who is a shaman if not a psychopomp? A psychopomp is a ferryman or a ferry woman in your case. In our case, a ferry woman, someone who can cross the great threshold in both directions and bring someone else through the great threshold, no? A psychopomp.
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I bring this guide called White Eagle, who's amazing and really wise and just teaches me every day. Like I learn so much, and it fills me up, and then it comes through and the whole room lights up, Selene. The energy from it.
Beautiful.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Yes.
Does it matter even identity then, Selene? It's like, does it even, I've learned on this path, I'm not even sure it matters identity. Like, if that experience can happen, isn't that more fascinating than having some identity that would block that from happening? I feel it's more important to have the experience than to have an identity.
Yes, yes. I mean, in the Mother Mantra tradition, we overcome the sense of identity, which is the sense of I, through the mystical marriage. What is the mystical marriage? Mystical marriage is a deep reunion with the divine, and this union allows you to recognize the presence of the divine in everyone you meet and in everything you experience in your life. So when you are able to see the divine in everyone you meet, in everything you experience, you are beyond your common, your normal identity, the sense of I. And you are in a non-dual state of consciousness, and living, being in this perspective is amazing. It's a great experience of life, you see. And everyone can live his life in this state of consciousness. So why don't do it? Why don't do it? It's so simple, because it is natural. It's not easy, but it's simple. Not easy, but simple. And everyone can do it. So let's do it.
Yeah, let's just do it. Well, isn't it kind of like there's really only one I, and there's a lot of we's inside the I? You know, it's like there's one big I, and we're all we's inside the I. There's like limitless numbers of I inside I. So we're all together. I think it's this idea that you're losing something somehow by merging, but you're not. You're never losing. Nothing's ever destroyed. So like really destroyed. Everything is all created because it's in time, and time doesn't exist. Like time is fluid, right? So it's all happening at the same time. So then how can anything be destroyed if it's all happening at the same time?
Yes, yes, yes.
It means it always exists. It never is not existing anymore.
Yes, the problem is the attachment of the sense of I. According to Buddha's teaching, normally people have 1,500 attachments to the sense of I. 500 of the body, 500 of emotion, and 500 of mind. 1,500 attachments to the sense of I. And meditation and also shamanic rituals are very powerful tools to melt these attachments. And so I think that shamanic rituals, meditations are what humanity really needs nowadays, because we are really in need to overcome attachments and to recognize ourselves to nature. This is an urgent calling from nature. Go beyond your attachments and melt yourself with me. This is
with the mother, back with mother. Yes.
This is the calling of the mother. This is the calling of a great mother nowadays.
And it's a good thing, because what I found is that as I have melted layers into the mother, right, and recognizing that that's what it is. And for me, it was a little more challenging because I had these other issues with my biological mother that I'm healing, right? So that I can really trust a mother figure, like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to let go and let you teach me and let you love me and show me. And I think the mother's wisdom is very deep and very, very deep and profound. And what I've learned so far about it is that that there's no nook and cranny that she doesn't know, within ourselves. And so she knows all the little hiding places where we store those attachments and tuck them away so we can keep something, like we don't want to go there. I think it's the personality, the ego doesn't want to let go. But I think that what I found is really helpful is plant medicine for me to get, because that's another ritual. It's ceremony, it's ritual, but then we're bringing in plants too. But I found you can do it with just simple ceremony. Ceremony brings you into an altered state of consciousness where you can start ritual and ceremony where your brain goes into the sacred space instead of into the material space. It goes into the sacred space, and then you can start to understand where the attachments are and to let them go into the fear space of that.
Yes, in shamanic yoga, in Mother Mantra tradition, there is the art of images pacification, which is very useful to melt attachments. What is that? The art of images pacification is the art of evoke past events which are not pacified, traumatic events of our past, which are spirits, because according to shamanic vision, events are entities, spirits, gods and goddesses. So evoke past events which are not pacified, which are perturbated, we say, or traumatic, and then pacify the spirit of the event through a sense of gratefulness, blissfulness, gratefulness, forgiveness, love, and faith, using this power, love and faith, forgiveness, thankfulness, and blissfulness, we can pacify past images, which are spirits. If we don't pacify past images, we are followed by many, as the Buddhists say, hungry ghosts.
Yes, hungry ghosts. I would call those parasites, energetic parasites.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
We can also call them parasites, hungry ghosts, or in shamanic yoga we say perturbed spirits, perturbed gods, perturbed goddesses. And if we are followed by these perturbed gods and spirits, of course we have a hard life, you see. Our energetic field is perturbated. We have a rumor, a perturbation in our energetic field continuously. And so we can't focus our mind, we can't have a clear vision. So we have to pacify the past events. And the art of images pacification is a very, very important shamanic art, which is described in my book, The Mada Mantra, the Ancient Shamanic Yoga of Non-Duality. And I also teach this art in my seminars, in my webinars, because I'm also a psychologist, but I don't use academic tools or traditional psychological tools. I prefer to use shamanic tools because my nature is and my soul is a shamanic soul. And so since I use with my clients the art of image pacification, the shamanic art of images pacification, I have a lot of amazing feedbacks from people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy. I'm really satisfied of these feedbacks. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I spent 20 years in weekly psychotherapy sessions, Selene, trying to heal myself and fix myself. And I didn't, I got a lot of those angry ghosts.
Yes.
Because I kept creating more of it.
I don't want to say that the psychotherapy can't help. Of course it can, but we have to bring back the sacredness in therapy.
Yes.
Because a desacralized therapy is just an anesthetic way of take care of people. We have to bring back sacredness in therapy in order to take care not only to the sense of I, not only take care of ego and the structures of the I, but we have to take care of the images, which are gods and goddesses. You see, a desacralized therapy starts from the I and takes care of structures, of I structures. Mm. But we have to go beyond the
we have to go beyond.
And
also because it's so mental, like it's all here. And I found the healing in the esoteric, like the wider, the feelings, like you were talking about, feeling it. The feelings told me so much more when I was able to feel everything and go in and sample energy and expand into sensing and perceiving. Then everything started to change when I switched my focus from here to the sensing and perceiving.
Yes.
And it all changed. Yeah, exactly. And then the psychotherapy is useful because now you can travel through tunnels of the mind, but you know you're doing that. It's, you can navigate it better. It's not so in the dark. I love that. Wow.
Yes.
So how do people get started with you? I know I'm going to put a link to your book. I'm going to add a link to the Mother Mantra. So people please go check that book out. What other ways do you have for people to get started to know your work?
Through my website, is selenecalloniwilliams.com, Selene, Calloni, Calloni, Williams.com. On my website, people can find a lot of material in English, free webinars, and free videos, and also they can have private sessions with me, and yes, they can have a lot of material for free through my website in English and in Italian.
Gorgeous. Well,
Of
I will.
course,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here in Switzerland. I work most of my time in Italy, so I have a lot of material in Italian. But day by day, I try to make available material in English, because through English, of course, you can speak to the world. Through Italian, you can speak to a small part of
True.
people. And because I have books translated and published also in Spain, in France, um, doing my job in English is the best way I have to try to speak to a wider audience.
Well, I appreciate your effort to do that because we need to hear what you have to say, and we need to understand your wisdom. And I really appreciate this interview. It explained a lot of things. I loved your pathway to the awakening of that oneness and samadhi. And I'm very encouraged by everything that you shared here today. I know I'll be listening to this back because there are really good nuggets of wisdom in here. So I encourage everybody to go look up Selene's website. I'll have that in the show notes. I'll also have a link to the Mother Mantra in the show notes so that you can look at that book and get that off wherever I think it's Amazon.com, available there. And I will also just invite you to like this episode and comment and share it out, because whether you find it on iTunes or YouTube or my website or wherever it is, if you interact with it by clicking, the 5 stars review on iTunes, for example, then iTunes, decides, oh, that must be good content, and elevates it. So the more likes and shares and reviews we have, the more people find this content, which we think is pretty useful for people to find right now at this time on the planet. So we appreciate your help spreading that. And anything else you want to say to the audience before we close, Selene?
It was a pleasure to talk to you, Katie. A really pleasure, a really big pleasure. And I hope to meet you again. And to the audience, I can say that the most powerful tool we have is faith and love. Faith and love are two sides of the same power. And so we have absolutely to recover, to remember this enormous power with which we came here in this world, faith and love. And we have to use it in these days, because humanity and nature really need this power. Bring back faith and love in your life and in this world.
Beautiful. Yes, I agree. Faith and love, that little light inside of you that knows that more is possible, even if you don't know exactly what that is, but you just know that faith, that feeling of we are on the verge of something great. We don't need to look at the details. We know it's going to be beautiful. So just keep expanding. Beautiful. So I like to give people kisses on the way out to spread love. Speaking of love. So if you want to join me, we're going to give kisses to everybody now, and we'll see you guys next week on Soul Nectar Show. Here come your kisses. Mwah. Love you guys. Bye for now.